one thing I wanted to add. Forgot to. Alright. So welcome to the Main Mind Live, episode 92. We did our last stream on Friday, so there's not going to be as much to cover in this, so hopefully we can get it done in a reasonable amount of time. But obviously the biggest story of the weekend, it hurts my head thinking about it. Jeffrey Epstein is dead as of Saturday.
Man, nobody saw that coming.
Yeah, no, not even Jeffrey Epstein. So there are a few things I'm gonna cover here. To start with, so man, this is I'll get into the implication or the what's gonna likely happen as the result of this. But first, when this news was announced Saturday morning, everybody had the same conclusion. So this is gonna. Oh, I didn't send you these links. So there's a couple links of screenshots I'm gonna show. Let's see, maybe I can.
If you do the switch, I should be able to just see it.
Wait, hang on a second. Is that showing up in the Hangouts there?
It's showing as a.
There we go. Right.
Screen in the bottom corner.
Oh, you're not seeing that at full screen?
Nope. It looks like some knights.
Well, it's showing to everybody else as full screen on Hangouts. Click on the image, and maybe it'll show up as full screen for you.
Oh yeah, there it goes. Never mind.
Yeah, so there it goes. So this is a picture. It's Democrats, people that bought Bella Delphine's bathwater, Republicans, gamers, libertarians, straights, gays, furries, boomers, millennials, LARPers, people that like feet, and they all point to Epstein was murdered. So I mean, there's been people reporting on this. Cenk Uyghur's even saying, this is suspicious. This looks like he was murdered. I mean, there's people on the left and right who are just like, what's going on? This is absolutely insane. And that's so this was a meme from who posted this one? Libertarian Red. So let me go to this next one here. Is this still just double checking this to make sure that this is showing up in the. No, this is not. So I got to go to each individual tab by itself and tell it to cast. But so we'll do them one at a time. But at least this works now. So this was not working in previous streams. So this was in other people's videos as well. But I saw this on Twitter. I was like, dude, this is so. John McAfee is he's neck and neck with Trump when it comes to his understanding of internet culture and memes, but he's also just out of his mind insane. I mean, there's a lot of things I like about him as far as his policies, but he's too much of a radical for me to actually want to be a libertarian candidate, because there's nobody's gonna vote for him, but he does do awesome stuff like this. So yeah, if you can't read or if you're listening, it says, "I was stunned by Epstein's suicide, though probably not as much as Epstein himself." I'm like, yes, that's amazing. So there's a bunch of these that came out over the weekend.
Remember that old movie, Loaded Weapon 1?
But hey, you're throwing away. What are you're skipping ahead through the screen here. I've got that queued up. Alright, where's the hangout here? So this is not a real tweet. This is doctored, obviously, but this is pretty good.
That's awesome.
So, there's another thing. So the 8th was Thursday. Jeffrey Epstein killed himself apparently on the 9th. And then we found out about it on the 10th, which was Saturday. So yeah, that's the original one. It's like very sad to hear about Jeffrey Epstein's suicide. Oh shit, that's happening tomorrow. That's but Wait, was the 8th the Thursday? Yeah, because the. Okay, so while I'm thinking about it, because it's something I meant to bring up last on Fridays, apparently there was. So, in addition to all the conspiracy theories that are going around, was it Washington Post or was it CNN? It was one of mainstream media outlets was talking about August 8th being a dog whistle to white supremacists because Trump had said they were going to put the flags at half staff until August 8th, in remembrance or I guess in honor or in respect of the people who lost their lives during the shootings. And people are looking at 8-8, you know what the eighth letter of the alphabet is H. So 8-8 is Heil Hitler, and I'm like, whew, good thing I didn't do a stream on the 8th, lest I be tied to white supremacy. And this is the rule going forward. You can't do anything on August 8th, lest it be a reference to Adolf Hitler.
Just the eighth letter?
What? H is the 8th, right? A, B, C, D, F, G, H. Yeah. 8-8, August 8th.
Yeah, but H could be anything. Herbert Hoover.
And Herbert Hoover, any reference to him is actually covering up for Heil Hitler. No, they were talking about how that was a
Happy holidays. What?
Oh, H. Oh no. Oh, I forget who it was. Was it the Thinkery? It might have been Sargon or it might have been Tim Pool, but they were pointing out all these instances of people donated $88,000 or is it 88 million or something? I don't remember the exact amount, but it came out to 88, something dollars donated to his campaign fund, and they're like, so I think it might have been Tim Pool because he was kind of like, oh guys, we got 88. Oh, who donated that extra one? Now we're over.
Do you think that's going to turn into something? So, as far as me go, I think the oldest one that I'm familiar with is 420 because that's been around for decades. And that is kind of a meme. You just say 420 and it represents an entire culture and a whole idea. Yeah. So, but that was just some people saying that as a phrase. It's kind of like a joke. Hey, 420.
No, if I'm not mistaken,
and then they turned into that because people thought it was funny, just slapping the picture on, and then all of a sudden, now Pepe is a hate image or a white supremacist image or whatever. And it's just a frog. That's not even what it.
No, I mean it's just.
Does stuff like this get trolled and put out there because culture nowadays likes memes and they're funny? I mean, I find most of.
That's the way it's been going. Is anything that leftists don't like because it's popular or because it undermines their narrative, they immediately link it to racism or white supremacy or Nazis or something. They're like, hey, this is too popular. We got to link it with evil Russian bots. They were behind.
Yeah, but I mean, like on 4chan, somebody posted a picture about the OK sign being white power because it's W.
And then they posted pictures of Covington kids at a basketball game where this means 3-pointer.
Yeah.
and people are like, oh, look at that. They're making white power symbols at a basketball game. And like, dude, there's pictures of NBA players who are running around the court holding up the same thing.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It started out as a joke. It's people saying, well, it's a whole conspiracy. Look at this. And, like 90% of what's on 4chan is just a joke. It's just for fun. It's just people posting random junk just to get laughs or views or whatever. But why is any of that even turning into a thing within mainstream media?
I have no idea.
So if this HH thing pops up, does that actually mean by next year they're like, well, it's August 8th. Anybody posting, like, could that pop up and all of a sudden now you're tagged with it?
But who cares? But I mean, it's just for right now we're laughing at how ridiculous they're getting with this stuff. They're just gonna keep getting more and more absurd, and they're the crazy guy wearing the aluminum foil hats, which, oddly enough, all the crazy guys wearing the aluminum foil hats about the Epstein case, they're being proven right. And people are like, well...
I think with the Epstein case, that was pretty much everybody.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So, I mean, the tinfoil guys, even a broken clock is right twice, right? That this is a case of everybody saw this coming. Nobody... Yeah. Everybody, I guess, except for Epstein and the FBI, that was investigating this case, and he was under their jurisdiction at the time of the suicide. So
that should have been obvious to them. I mean, the whole scenario is ridiculous. He gets injured in prison. They're saying it was an attempted suicide. Epstein's not saying that. He says he was attacked.
Says he was attacked.
But anyway, they put him on suicide watch, and it's only been a couple of weeks. Why was he off? Ever?
Nobody has explained that. Nobody has explained why he was taken off of that.
But he was attacked. He should have been watched literally 24/7.
Yeah. So
a case like this, and it's interstate, so it's a federal case. This whole thing was a mess. It should have not happened like that.
So he should have been on suicide watch from day one, and not just because he could have potentially committed suicide, but because he's a high-profile target that, yes, like, hey, we need to hold each other accountable because one of you guys could be paid off. This guy's a multi-billionaire. He's got royalty linked to this case. He's got, because Prince Andrew was apparently one of the names named. He's got these, multi-billionaires and, powerful people, political, people with a lot to lose if they get linked to Epstein.
Yes.
So you would think, I was like, hey, somebody could pay you $200 million to kill him because you're on his guard duty. Okay, in that case, we need to have that, we need to have full eyes on him. We need to have multiple people watching him at all times.
Different department, not all on the same team.
Yeah. People so the other thing is you got to routines where that's not known to anybody before it happens, sort of thing. So that way they can't plan an attack or an escape or even the detail of who's currently watching him. That sort of thing that has to be kept on. This is witness protection type stuff.
Yes. They do this for other prisoners. Yeah. They do this for people that are willing to testify all the time. This is not a new procedure. Should have been standard.
Yeah, this should have been put under a witness protection in the same as somebody who's testifying against the mafia.
And as many people as were named and as many potential accomplices or participants, this is none of it's validated. So right now it's just speculation. But the number of people that have been named would make this an extremely high-profile case.
Yeah.
The potential here is not to go damage reputations. It's to catch criminals.
Yeah.
Not just Epstein, but anybody that was involved. And so they need to protect their source of information.
Yeah, and so I'll get into it a little bit. I want to cover more of the meme stuff first, and then we'll get into the more serious. But so there's a couple more of these that they keep going around. So there's this one. All right, it's a little annoying that I got to go to each one of these and have them cast, and then click on them when they're in the Hangout. But Chuck Norris saying, even I check my closets for the Clintons before going to bed. Alright. This is a pretty good one, too. There was a ton of these that came out over the weekend, and I didn't catch them all, but these are some of my favorites, so I bookmarked them and decided to use them for the stream here. So, this doesn't... I'm a little too far zoomed in for this one. Let's see. So this is from the Babylon Bee. People with dirt on Clintons have an 843% greater risk of suicide. And, where's my... I'm not going to scroll down through all of these, but my contribution is, when did Babylon Bee stop becoming a parody site? That's actually real life and not a joke.
Yeah.
No, it's ridiculous. It's because I heard Crowder was talking about this, and also Stefan was talking about this, and Mike Cernovich were talking about this. There's 50 names of people that have either interacted with them directly or that are in their circles that have either died under mysterious circumstances or committed suicide. And you're like, what? There's coincidence, and then there's lightning striking all around you, and you're like, oh, I'm not a lightning rod. What? Lightning striking twice in a vicinity, pretty unlikely. striking all around you for.
I mean, there's a lot of people that deal with some of that. I think I've somewhere in our extended family or past history of contacts are like 2, maybe.
Okay, so I know 3, and 3 people. One was a direct relative. One was a former roommate.
Info,
No, I mean,
but
yeah. So yeah, but 3 people with direct relation, like, but suicide, no mysterious deaths, but 3 over 30 years, whereas they've had like 50 in the course of 40-ish years in politics. What, maybe 50 years in politics?
yeah, they're averaging 10 mysterious deaths or suicides a decade, pretty much one a year.
Yeah. So you're like, statistically, not possible.
No. Either they're driving their friends crazy, or whoever they meet, or something else is going on. Yeah, that's pretty obvious. I mean, it's almost like the dark secret in Hollywood, except for the public is powerless to do anything at this point. Whereas Hollywood, they're shielded and protected to a point, but that's still private sector. This is kind of past that level where everybody knows something's fishy. Nobody's going to do anything about it. We don't know how to do anything about it. And this is just kind of tied in with it.
All right, so this is probably my favorite this weekend. Yeah.
Wow.
That is a great one.
That's clever.
Yeah. Because you gotta know the song reference, and yeah, it's...
That's some dark humor there.
Yeah. If anybody's listening, you don't know the 80s song, there's just a song called Video Killed the Radio Star. But anyway, that's a pretty good one. Okay. Let's see, there's a couple more of these that I've got. So... wish there was an easier way to have these all cast at the same time without giving this up early, but... So, the Redhead Libertarian tweeted, the Federal Reserve has information that will lead to the arrest of Hillary Clinton. Because so that's a meme within a meme. If you don't quite get it, maybe I can... So, or you can't tell by the reaction on your face.
I have a general idea.
Yeah, so it's a libertarian meme in the Fed, right? That's we have to kill the Fed. So it's kind of like, well, anybody who has information that might lead to the arrest of Hillary Clinton. Oh, the Federal Reserve, I hear, has some information that could.
Okay.
So the Federal Reserve is gonna get suicided. That's.
Yeah. Some things that we need to get rid of. We just start saying, "Hey, I heard they may."
Yeah. By the way, like roads and taxes, I think that they might have been willing to testify against Hillary Clinton.
A little blue bird whispered in my ear.
Yeah, it becomes a hit list. All right. So here's what you brought up earlier, and I was gonna introduce this as the crack team that is investigating whether Epstein actually committed suicide or not. This was their previous case that is actually we actually have video footage of it. So
suicide, huh? She must have caught herself by surprise.
Found these on the
So that's the crack team that is investigating. That did play, right?
Yeah, I heard that. That's one of my favorite scenes.
Dude, I was watching. I was like, that little clip, man. I don't know why that is panned as a parody movie or a spoof, like compared to
I think it's now turned from spoof to an actual crime drama.
Yeah. But I mean, when they're talking about like spoofs, they've got Airplane and The Naked Gun and Hot Shots Part 2, But Loaded Weapon is up there in my opinion. I mean, it's because like just watching that one scene, I was looking just for that one part where he says this, and there's like 50 jokes per scene where they're just walking past something that you're like, whoa, what? Wait, did they just like? There's so many things packed into one scene that like there's a guy doing limbo behind like on the police crossing while he's talking to the doctor. I'm like, dude, I didn't even catch that earlier.
They're at a murder scene and there's a dog dragging the body off and no one notices.
Yeah, no one. Yeah, and there's like there's multiple things all happening at the same time, and it's like, oh, I can't. That's. So yeah, that it's when it comes to a spoof, I think that's one of my favorites. But
that was the first thing I thought of when I heard about Epstein. That thing popped in my head. Got himself by surprise.
Yeah, dude, yeah. So we were both on the same boat there because that's exactly. I was like, dude, I got to put that in there.
Yeah.
All right. So that's all I had as far as the memes on that, but. The implications at play here, because on Sunday or Monday, FBI raided the island, and people who are concerned about this have brought up, wait, are they going there to collect evidence, or are they going there to dispose of evidence before somebody else? Because that's what's looking like. I like Bill Barr, but there seems to be elements in the FBI that he is not in control over. He doesn't have any say on what they're doing. I guess he's Attorney General, right? He's not even the head of the FBI. Who's the current head of the FBI?
I cannot remember.
It was Comey, but he stepped down. So who is the replacement for Comey? Who's in charge of the FBI right now? But I do know Attorney General Barr said he was investigating the FBI, and I know he is concerning the Epstein.
Christopher Wray.
Okay, Christopher Wray. That name doesn't ring a bell at all. So, but Epstein under FBI jurisdiction and protection, but they couldn't even protect him from himself. So let's throw all the conspiracy to the side. Let's just assume he committed suicide and it was completely legit. He's his life was over. He was gonna spend the rest of his life in jail. He was gonna get beat up daily or possibly raped. It's all kinds of terrible stuff to him in prison after this. His life was over. Maybe he thought, it sucks to commit suicide, but that can't possibly be worse than the rest of the stuff that's going to happen to me. So he'd spend his entire life in jail just being tortured constantly, not by the prison guards, but by other prisoners. High-profile pedophile doesn't do well in prison. So maybe he took the easy way out. It's not beyond plausibility, but let's assume that happens.
Well, how long ago was the first attempt?
Like less than 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean it was recent, and it came out that it looked like it. At first, everything was reported that it was an attempted suicide. Like he tried to hang himself.
And the only one disagreeing with that was was Epstein himself. Everybody's like, oh no, this was definitely a suicide attempt. This was a suicide attempt. And Epstein's like, what are you guys crazy? I was there. It wasn't a suicide attempt.
Why would he deny it was suicide when he's trying to kill himself? It doesn't make any sense.
So, I mean, granted, he's the guy. So there is the possibility.
The other way around. If someone was trying to kill him, it failed, he got injured, and he said, I did it to myself. Kind of like that, I fell down some stairs, hit my eye on a doorknob or whatever,
Yeah.
Don't make abuse excuse. You're trying to protect someone else because if you squeal, your life is gone the next instant you come in contact with anybody, right? It just gets stitches. This is the exact opposite. He was injured and says he was attacked. They found him lying on the floor, curled up, because not like he can go anywhere. So he just puts himself in a curled up defensive position. Says someone attacked him. There was some.
No, you weren't attacked. You definitely tried to commit suicide. And you're trying to cover it up by blaming someone else.
Over his cellmate, but from my understanding, his cellmate agreed with him and said he was trying to protect him because he was being attacked. Because his cellmate was like a cop that got convicted of some kidnappings or something, He ended up doing something really bad, got put in there, and he's like a big buff dude. I saw some pictures a little earlier. But
so he said that somebody else was attacking Epstein, and they both fought
yeah,
off.
Because they were asking him about that. If he was the one, he's like, no, I was trying to protect him. But we already have a fishy scenario, not even 2 weeks old. At this point, it should have occurred to every single person involved.
Yeah.
This guy's going to hurt himself or someone else is going to hurt him because somebody hurt him already.
Yeah.
Whether it was him or not, somebody did. We need to have eyes on him all the time. And what makes it even worse is there is no video footage because at that exact time, their security system was down.
Yeah, so there's 2 different explanations going around. One, their security system was down. That hasn't been officially confirmed. The other one that has been officially confirmed by the prison themselves is, cameras don't point into jail cells. What? And so their official
discussing that it was down.
Well, okay, so the official response that has been confirmed by the prison management system is that cameras do not point into jail cells directly. However, their documentation on what they're supposed to do when somebody is on prison watch or on suicide watch is that they are on video, they're on full video. So the lights in that prison cell, they're only dim. I think it's 6 hours out of the day, so the guys can sleep. But there's constant video surveillance of the room during suicide watch.
A physical person has to come by, I believe, every 30 minutes to check. So not video. Someone has to come by and check.
Yeah, there's somebody who does the rounds every 30 minutes. But there's the 30 minutes that's just general prison policy. They're all cells, not just suicide watch. That somebody there's rotating guards. Somebody passes by the cells every 30 minutes to make sure that the guys are staying in. There's no breakout attempt or anything like that. But when you're on suicide watch, there's supposed to be one person dedicated to your cell. It's not like the guy who goes around. It's like, no, you've got a guard and you've got somebody coming around. And you're supposed to be on video. It's like... So you've got one person who is making his rounds around your area. It's not like this big, long detour. It's supposed to be... It's supposed to be sooner than every 30 minutes. It's at least every 30 minutes, but there's supposed to be somebody who's dedicated to your area.
Regardless, right now, all we've got is speculation. But there can only be 2 different scenarios. One, he actually did kill himself, at which point they already knew something like that could have happened because he was on suicide watch, and it happened less than 2 weeks ago. This case, why was he taken off of that? And not on 24/7 surveillance.
So news came out about that earlier today. He was taken off of suicide watch at the request of Epstein's lawyer. But there's also the fact that Epstein's lawyer also hired the autopsy guy. So it's like, wait, he hired the autopsy guy or requested that autopsy guy specifically?
Why, if his lawyer requested him to be off suicide watch, would they say, "Oh, sounds good to us"? I don't know if there's any legal. They should have to, or should they say, "Sorry, there's already been an attempt on his life, whether it was him or someone else. We need to watch him." I don't understand.
Yeah, this is completely bizarre.
The prison and the legal system monitoring him. Why would his lawyer have any say-so on how they monitor him?
I'm of the opinion that he should have gone in witness protection, although that does create problems because we don't know where he is, so he could be off in some luxury resort, living it up and that sort of thing, as opposed to in prison. But
even
the fact that
if that was even for the next year, he's off doing that. But the evidence he's got and as much information he gets out, he still winds up in prison for his deeds. And we get the full cabal, everybody that was involved.
Yeah, that's best case scenario.
Place for a year, but at least protect him because we need to find out how deep this goes and who was in with him because he's got all his fingers in all kinds of high places.
Yeah. So, there's the other side to this. and this is something that has been confirmed by multiple sources, is when the FBI raided the New York apartment for Epstein, they found discs labeled with a young lady's name and then some either wealthy person or political figure, and then nothing has been done with those. They haven't explained what they should at least, put them into a computer and see what's on them, shouldn't they? But all they've disclosed to the public is that it is a name of some lady, some young, it's some presumably young woman, and a famous person or politician or wealthy person. And people are like, dude, those are blackmail tapes because these were found inside his safe in that apartment.
It's blackmail tapes, or he gets off viewing other people's activity that he invited to his, his house or wherever he's filming. But regardless, that is evidence.
Yeah, and if it is what people are speculating it is, the FBI doesn't need to do anything. Like, they should start investigating the names of the individuals on those tapes. Like, dude,
those individuals.
So you don't. I mean, we didn't need Epstein's testimony per se, but that list of names, you're like, dude, those people on those CDs need to be contacted. Like, hey, was this consensual? Was she of age? Like, all those types of questions. Did you know at the time that should be your list of people to interview, because he had them on disc in his personal safe in his apartment. It's obviously meaningful to him, otherwise they wouldn't be in a safe. They would be in some kind of sock drawer or whatever if they were just masturbatory material or whatever. But safe implies there's some reason to keep them out of the hands of anybody else who isn't Jeffrey Epstein, right? So, yep. So there's that.
There's a lot of fishy stuff here, and I saw someone else who brought up the point that left and right, the vast majority of people say something stinks here. Yeah. Something is really fishy, except for mainstream media, who just says,
up suicide. Yeah. Nothing to see here. It's that. Oh man,
we can't believe it. Suicide.
All right, I'll pull that up real fast, because it's on my mind. All right. Yeah. Sorry, you can continue your point. But
well, my point is, if we see here shortly, because now their key witness, the main guy that was there that had this information on other individuals, if they say, well, now since the primary guy that's being prosecuted is dead, the case is dropped, that's the end of it. If that's what happened, then, and they do not launch investigations into any of the material they found, there is most definitely corruption, and he was killed. Just because he's dead and he's not going to serve his full punishment in prison, the information they found indicting however many people in illegal activity, those are all separate people, separate investigations. That's something else. So that's kind of my point. We're going to have to see what happens here in the next few months. Does this entirely get dropped and then it's never brought up again? Or do they start pursuing the evidence that they have found?
Oh, does it have to be open before I go into the Hangout? Maybe that's why it's not working. Aw, that's sad. I think I have to have it queued up before the Hangout, and that's why it was showing. Because I can cast these other ones. Oh, what happened? I lost my ability to Hangout cast.
Someone's listening to the stream. They don't want to see any more pictures.
Alright. Well, that's unfortunate.
You're just going to have to describe it.
Well, it's just a scene from Naked Gun where he says, nothing to see here as a fireworks factory is blowing up behind him. I was like, that's pretty much the MSNBC right now. Yeah.
But I mean, why aren't they asking the obvious questions that every single other person in the country is asking? Why was he off suicide watch? Why did they listen to his lawyer and do that when he was just attacked or / hurt himself less than 2 weeks ago? Why are they reporting that the video camera during that time period happened to be out of commission? That's extremely fishy.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, there's no video footage of what actually happened. That should be the obvious
Well,
things. Like, well,
we don't have any video footage. Look, so if he's taken off suicide watch, right, and he's just a regular prisoner now, and they don't have any videos that go directly into cells to monitor what he's doing in there, I understand that, and they can come out and say, we don't have video footage because he was in a cell, and we don't record directly in the cells.
Yeah, unless they're on suicide watch.
The camera in that area was out of commission, that it would malfunction, and they don't have a recording for that time. That's the news that came out. Yeah. Why?
That was the original. That was the story reported first. That has not been confirmed by the prison, but it hasn't been denied by them either. You would think, hey, this is fake news. This is official. We do have video footage. It just doesn't cover that cell. That would be their.
Say, look, we will have recording.
No,
we don't
instead, their official statement is, "Oh, we don't have cameras that point directly into prisoners' cells."
Yet that's not the first response that came out, so that doesn't make sense.
It's not the first response that came out, but it also doesn't. It's not. They're not denying the first story that came out. They're not saying, "Whoa, we have the video footage." No, they're just saying, "Well, typically cameras don't point into prisoners' cells, so the odds that we would have footage is unlikely." It's like, what? That didn't answer the question, did it? That sidestepped everything. That's something that you might, or that people could consider or might mistake for an answer, but it's like, whoa, wait. The question was, why wasn't a camera pointed on him, or why don't we have a video footage of his death? And your response is, oh, we might not have caught it because it's not likely the camera would be pointed in his prison cell. I'm like, so you didn't check any of this? And the original story says the camera footage wasn't active at all. It wasn't actively filming.
There was a camera. That's what the original implication, the original statement.
So the statement from the prison should be, there was no camera fault. We had video footage of everything. Just the video footage we have absolutely did not film that cell. That should be the official. Right. But instead,
they can't walk outside.
Yeah. Instead, they get the answer is like, well, the odds of cameras don't point typically directly into prisoner cells, so the odds of it capturing on a film was unlikely. Next question. What?
No, that's not an answer. The answer would be the closest camera we have to his cell didn't record anything.
Yeah, that would be. But they didn't say that. That's not the official statement. They never said something specifically like that.
That's the common sense answer, because that would be the only answer that makes sense.
Yeah. Or like, hey, we had somebody go through the footage. We did not catch it on. But no, that wasn't the official response from the prison system.
Yep.
They never denied the fact that a camera was out. They never refuted that at all. They didn't even acknowledge it when answering the question. And instead, they said, "Well, it's not typical for cameras to point into cells. We've got cameras that monitor the entrances and exits, make sure prisoners aren't entering and leaving. And so since they're not pointed directly into a cell, the odds that we got it on film is unlikely." And you're like, "What? That's not the question we asked." Yeah.
Option 3, and this one is extremely far-fetched, is that they did actually record something, but they don't want to make it public because this can indict someone else. They're tracing back what actually happened, and they need time for the public to calm down and for whoever organized something to happen to say, to think that they got away with it.
That would be a breath of fresh air, but considering this is the FBI, and the FBI has had an abysmal track record for the past ever. I'm trying to think of they had a high-profile case where the
So sometimes they'll bag a big fish, but just.
No, sorry. I guess I should specify when it comes to politics and to cases like this. Yeah, sure, mobsters and whatever. Yeah, the FBI will catch some, America's Most Wanted type. But when it comes to situations like this, where there is a political tie-in, the FBI is pretty bad for the most part. Here's the other crazy thing.
Which seems odd because it shouldn't matter. The situation.
Yeah,
it shouldn't.
But...
Record. you know, hey, we get 80% of our cases solved or whatever. But why, when it comes to high profile political figures, do they just blow? Something sounds corrupt there as well. And we've already seen with Comey what's going on and McCabe. So
yeah, and since you mentioned H8, wasn't Herbert Hoover, wasn't he the original director of the FBI when it was first created?
And I think
he's notorious for having blackmail information about political figures while head of the FBI. So that's why I'm saying since ever, because that's kind of like it's in their DNA. Like, if that's public knowledge. That's not conspiracy theory. No, that's public knowledge. He had blackmail information on the president, on any on members of Congress. He kept that. And like that's all stuff that has been made public knowledge like years later. But it's like the very first head of the FBI was doing this stuff, manipulating politics and getting dirt on people he didn't. Well, people in political power. Like, did that stop in the FBI? Has there been a, hey, we need to crack down on this? You guys are just supposed to. You guys are actually under the authority of the president. Like, that nobody has gone in to discuss. Like, wait a minute. Has the FBI exceeded its bounds and now become the new de facto government? And now they're the ones pulling all the strings? Seems to be that way with the recent Russian investigation, as we saw with Comey and Stork, or wait, what was his name? Strux?
Yeah, Peter Strzok.
Yes, Peter Strzok and Lisa Page and everything that came out in that document. And the was it the Mueller investigation? All the we didn't even bother. That's not in our purview. Investigate why this thing started, huh? What?
Well, okay. So yes, it's all fishy. And people are going to be people. People are going to have biases and they're going to have leanings, especially if they believe heavily in certain ideologies or political leanings.
Yeah.
So if they are left-leaning and they work for the FBI, I could see them saying, you know what, something seems fishy with this president. We really need to check it out.
Yeah.
But the only way to prevent this type of abuse of power and to make sure they're doing their job right is just transparency. And when something seems off, it needs to be a legitimate statement. Hey, I think something's here. We need to investigate it, but it needs to be done through proper channels. And then it needs to be vetted. Is this person extremely biased, and are they going to inhibit this investigation? Kind of like, was it Strzok? And then, or not Comey. Mueller had no idea of his bias against Trump. So he says,
he was on it. Yeah, he wasn't dismissed until like the last year of it.
Taking off the investigation.
Yeah, he was there for at least a year on that investigation, right?
Yeah, something like that.
It's like,
so there needs to be just a transparency, and when things are not, basically, people are going to have their biases, but how do we do our best to prevent bias from impacting an investigation? Because ultimately, it should be the goal of everyone to get to the source of truth. Not your truth, not his or her truth, or him, her, she, them, they, whatever truth. Just the truth. What happened?
Well, I think the very nature of the FBI and also the CIA, I would put them kind of both in this same boat. Their entire job is, well, the FBI is supposed to be information gathering and catching, interstate bad guys. But what it seems like what they're mostly doing is obscuring evidence and things like that. Because if you look at the investigation into JFK's assassination, there were documents that were marked top secret and kept under wraps, and president after president was signing off, we can't release this information publicly. And when all that and Donald Trump got in there, it's like, no, dude, release this stuff. There's nothing in here. And then that information came out, and people sorted through it, and they're expecting to find some. It's a bunch of nothing, except for this case where there is documentation where it says Oswald didn't act alone. He had accomplices in it, and it's undoubtedly the FBI was like, yeah, there's no way he could pull this off on his own. He had to have known the route change that happened that morning. He has ties with these other communists, and we've got links to people working in the Dallas Police Department at the time who were also members of the and you're seeing, oh, this was not a one-man operation, and yet it was passed off, and the FBI had documents of this. Granted, it's far too late for them to do anything and find out who these people were. I mean, a lot of these people are long dead, but it's like, dude, the FBI, they knew this stuff, and they could have investigated at the time, and instead they sat on their hands because, oh, we dropped the ball, guys. I don't know if it's saving face on their end, or if, hey, somebody from the FBI had a hand in this and was their inside contact was somebody from, our intelligence agencies. We don't know. It's all speculation, but we do know that they had information that would have been useful that they could have used to further the investigation and sat on it instead and hid it away and then said, oh, we're done.
Yeah, I mean, public fiascos like Comey coming out and listing all of the stuff they had against Hillary and then saying, but when you see no reason to do anything, we're not charger, and that's not even his call.
No, it's not his call. It should have been the Attorney General at the time, Loretta Lynn. She should have, or was it Loretta Lynn or Loretta Lynch? I think Loretta Lynch is a country singer. But one of the other.
It all just seems fishy. But so
the other thing about that is they changed the definition of what it required for gross negligence. Yeah. They changed the requirement for gross negligence specifically for Hillary Clinton. Because the way it's written right now, there's no difference between gross negligence and being a traitor. It's like, well, but there's no intent. And like, but if it was intent, if it was done intentionally, it would have been an act of a...
Negligence implies no intent, just being negligent.
If it was done on purpose, that's being a traitor. That's... I don't... it's so bad.
It wasn't negligence. Those are contradictory terms.
Yeah.
Negligent specifically implies it was not intentional. There was no intent.
Yes, there was no intent, but like in this case, this is... I don't know if it was intent on the FBI's part or not. It might have been intention behind it, but at the very least, having Epstein commit suicide on their watch is gross negligence. They did not fulfill their legal obligation to the U.S. public. Because, so what happens now, granted, they do have evidence against these other participants in this ring, but the federal case against Epstein stops. Which means there is no charges against anybody else at the point. Unless somebody forces the FBI's hand to continue to make charges against other people involved in this, the case dies with Epstein.
Yep.
That is a scary thought.
Yeah.
There's still the civil investigations that are going to continue from people who have come out against Epstein and against Epstein's estate. But since the FBI hasn't said, oh, well, Epstein's out, now we need to go to the next person in line. The FBI hasn't done that yet, which they should have immediately. It's like, okay, well, who's the next big name on our list of people that we know were involved in this? We need to get them as our next witness. That should have been step number one, but...
So there should immediately be an investigation. Well, there should have been a concurrent investigation with, what's her name, Maxwell?
His assistant that was kind of like was getting the girls for him, recruiting. Yeah. Yeah, it's like, hey, Epstein is dead.
Ghislaine.
Because she was one of the people who got part of the immunity deal with Epstein, but that's off the table now. Because Epstein's dead. Immunity deal's gone. That immunity was for Epstein and anybody he worked with because they wanted Epstein's information. Epstein doesn't have any information to give anymore. That deal should be forfeit. She's no longer protected because that was a protection requirement for Epstein's immunity, right? That was specifically between them and Epstein, and it was protecting other people because they were getting information from Epstein. They're no longer getting information from Epstein. The deal's off. You would think that's typically how these things... Like, yeah, the person we're after is no longer cooperating with us. Deal is forfeit.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter if he's not cooperating because... and so then the next person... And then, based on her, she could get an immunity deal, based on the information provided. But right now, the deal was with Epstein, not with her specifically. So she's no longer should no longer be covered under immunity deal. And it's like, okay, now you're going to go to jail for your admitted crimes unless you give us something else, and then we can work out immunity based on that. She should have lost her immunity deal based on that, and she should be next in line. But it doesn't seem to be the case.
Pretty much all of the evidence. She was there for everything.
Yeah. So you would think that would be the case, or I mean, they got to go somewhere else. But it seems like this case is just going to ultimately die and have to have its day in civil court, where the estate is going to be punished and all that sort of thing. But none of the people involved are likely to get. And this is terrible for the victims, but it's also terrible for justice in the U.S. This is
what this would imply is that there is a extremely wealthy cabal that can get away with whatever they want. They can get away with murder. They can get away with pedophile and child slave or child sex trafficking rings.
Mm-hmm.
This is scary. And it would also mean that an incompetent FBI or
the FBI is in the pockets of this cabal. That's the logical conclusion. I mean, it's conspiracy theory, tinfoil hat time, but how, like, there's so much incompetence that you're like, okay, that's negligent, okay, that's, oh, you guys are so bad at your jobs. But when it comes to like, dude, there's so many people involved. How did all of you screw up? How did all of you drop the ball on this and not do what is standard procedure for, like, there's so many things that standard procedure is ignored, and it always seems to be the case that standard procedure is ignored in these high-profile cases where they're the most scrutinized. Like, oh, somebody made a mistake, whoopsie. So either they are the absolutely most incompetent agency in the world, and nobody should trust them at all because this is gaffe after gaffe after gaffe, or, like, hey, it's like that, I think I brought this up before. If you get every question wrong on a test that's statistically impossible, that means you knew the right answer and chose the wrong answer. And that's what I'm seeing with the FBI. It's like, dude, you guys are consistently getting the wrong answer. How is that possible even remotely? Even if you're just randomly throwing darts at a board, you're gonna get something right by accident.
Any number, at least it's something. But I mean, we even see stuff like that with the Mueller report, which is when them shot themselves in the foot and should have not even interviewed him. He didn't know what the Steele dossier was, which was the entire reason that this investigation was launched in the first. If you don't even know why you're investigating or what started it, even if you picked up halfway through, why are you there?
When the name Fusion GPS was mentioned, deer in the headlights. What? What's Fusion GPS? Never heard of it. It's not in my purview.
He's not investigating Fusion GPS. That wasn't part of the investigation.
They should have at least.
He wasn't investigating Hillary or the DNC. But knowing why you're doing your investigation and you're the director of the FBI, I'm not the director, but you're commissioned as a special task because you're investigating the president, you should know why. And everybody else in the public already knew why.
Yeah, that's stuff that everybody in the public knew about Steele and knew about Fusion GPS because it's all the media would talk about for weeks on end. You're the guy in charge of the investigation. How do you not know that?
So, either they keep extremely incompetent people in an organization that their entire job is to be smart and to investigate and to get to truth and to collect evidence properly and to do things the right way. Either they're extremely inept and have continually been inept, which why do we even have the FBI if this is the case, or something else is going on. I don't know what other conclusions to draw there. So we're going to have to see if anything else pops up with this whole Epstein fiasco. But if it ends up dropping off the radar, that's going to be my final conclusion is there are some high powers behind it in the government, and they just need to bury this because it's going to be detrimental to them and their power. There's no way a case like this can just drop, and especially if they've got CDs, they've got pictures, or camera footage of other people in illegal activity that was all part of this case, they should be pursuing anybody that they do have evidence on.
All right. Well, I'm gonna try something to fix the rest of the stream, so hopefully this will work. I'm gonna drop this real fast and then come right back in. Or let's see. I got my button hidden. Hang on a second. I'll be right back. All right. So I'm back, and hopefully that fixed it, so I can continue to play these inside the Hangout. There is one other that I wanted. Come on. Oh, come on. No, that didn't work. Not sure why that works sometimes and it doesn't work other times. So, well, I will link this in the Hangout here then. Let me see. Is all of this coming through on the Hangout? Oh, whoops, on the stream. Sorry about that. Move the camera. It's good. Well, my camera is right in front of where the buttons for the Hangout are. So anytime time I'm clicking on something or moving things around, the camera's in my way. Man, that's annoying, because it was working before, it was working for, at least it worked halfway through. But now I'm getting nothing. Do I need to restart Google Chrome? Oh well. So, you saw that link, right? So, I guess I'm just gonna have to... Yeah, I would not recommend it. But...
That's the point where you just walk in there and you slap every parent in the face.
Okay, but since since I sent you the link, but I haven't shown that on the stream itself, I'm gonna switch over to it.
Yep.
Oh, whoops. Why is it showing this other video? That's... Hang on a second. Man, stupid icon. Oh, okay. That was weird. My screen was showing an old image that was not the one. So, yeah. For those of you who haven't seen this, unfortunately, it's what's
like to do some of those
playing.
funny little Fortnite.
I'm not getting any audio on mine.
Who likes to do some of those funny little dances?
I think I didn't hear any on the site. I think it's just silent.
Oh, then you are a credit to your
I think there was
community.
audio on
But
this
most
video
of all,
originally.
Michael
So this
likes
individual
to twerk.
is...
Now, does anybody in
this is
room
the
know how to twerk?
drag queen story
Well, it's
time,
quite important to the story, so I will
and
just give you a very quick
there are
description.
young
All
kids
you
in
need
this
to do
audience,
is you just stand on your feet
like
on
you
the
can see
shoulder
right
width
there with a
apart. Now,
pacifier,
okay, I'll show you
right there off
the
the corner there.
Your crouch
This
down
drag queen
until
is
sort of
teaching
you
them
see your
about
bum sticking out.
twerking.
Don't be taking this all
The
in.
kids in this audience
Just move your bum up and
are
down like that.
are mostly
That's
under 10.
twerking.
And this person thinks it's okay to tell a story for some reason that involves twerking, and then to explain the act, and then to demonstrate the act to the children. What? And then the parents, you can hear them in the like, I mean, there are adults there. The story time is supposed to be for their young kids, and there are adults there, and they are applauding and clapping and laughing at this. And you're like, dude, this is... What is wrong with society where that's... Like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, well, we just had a pedophile who got away with it for years, and now it seems like they're covering up the whole situation, and then we've got this being encouraged. I'm like, okay, you guys on the left, you say that you're against pedophilia, but this twerking is a sex act. I don't care if he's like, oh, it's just dance or whatever. It's you're shaking your butt. It's not...
I would say, okay, so I wouldn't say it's a sex act per se. It is a sensual dance. It is not.
Yeah.
It is similar to like grinding, or it was
Okay.
later created for dance, but it is meant to be a sensual dance style.
Yes, it is meant to
Not
be. It is meant to allude to sex.
yes.
Okay. So it's not like flossing or whatever, and like all like the dances that you can see on, on what's that called, Fortnite or whatever. All the like, hey, what? Or don't care. Somebody's doing twerking. Like yeah, so twerking and grinding and I mean there are dances that you can see. Yeah, those are not intended for younger audiences. Those it's a little too close to mimicking sex. I mean, it's great. Nobody's watching, Saturday Night Live and being like, "Oh, look at that! He's obviously doing a sex." No, but you see somebody shaking their butt and doing nothing but that, and moving their hips back and forth, and like, yeah, that's something that occurs in sex. And let's see, what other activities outside of sex? Oh, none except for twerking and sex. Oh, yeah, that's not something young kids should be aware of, or
Well, I'll make a distinction here. So I have seen some. They're not vines, I guess. What's that new TikTok?
Yeah.
Or whatever, and there's a little baby in a diaper, and their mom taught them to do that, and you see the baby sitting there dancing to music. Haha, it's funny. You want to do that as a parent, that's your own prerogative. I understand you didn't teach them that for a sexual reason. However,
it's funny to
you've got a person dressed in drag, shaking their butt in front of a bunch of kids. It's as a grown man.
Mm-hmm.
Why? So if you're at home and you think it's funny just to teach your kid a little dance, whatever. That's up to you as a parent. You do you. But twerking from a drag queen is not a, hey, let's do the duck dance. Let's do hokey pokey. What is the intent of twerking? It is to shake your butt. It is a sensual dance. It is to get people to look at your butt. That's why a dance was invented, is because, within the last 10, 15 years, having a thick junk is now the end thing. So whatever. But it's a sexual, or not sensual act. It is meant to entice sensual ideas or erotic ideas. That's what that dance is for. So what is the purpose of demonstrating that to a bunch of children? What is the purpose of a grown man dressing like Marilyn Monroe from, back in the 50s, 60s? What? That is a fetish.
Yeah.
It's not the norm. Most men do not have any desire to dress like that. So that is a fetish, just like a foot fetish or whatever other name your fetish. That is something that intrigues or brings about some sort of sexual drive. It is an erotic idea. That's what a fetish generally is. It stimulates the same senses. So what is the purpose of teaching that to children? What parent says, I want my young child that's still in elementary school to learn all this stuff about sex? How does that benefit your kid at all? Are you trying to get your daughter pregnant by the age of 11? Are you trying to get your son an STD because he says, hey, I'm 14, I've got 10 different girlfriends? Is that your intent?
I would say for the parents of these kids, whether it's their intent or not, again, you gotta, if it's on purpose, they're disgusting people, and if it's just gross negligence, they're still pretty miserable people.
I mean, I think most of the public still has some sanity. I think most parents would look at that and say, no, something's wrong.
Yeah.
But I don't understand how this is becoming more and more prevalent. Why is drag queen story time a thing, period?
Yeah. I don't know. So there was something else I saw today, but I am not going to show it on the stream, but I am going to talk about it. If you want to... no, I would say you probably don't want to see the pictures, because it's... So this was something that happened in China, though. But they had basically a Victoria's Secret-esque pageant where they had little girls as young as 5 on the stage. So there are images of preteen Chinese girls wearing basically like lingerie fashion stuff. Yeah. Um. Why?
Ask
Is
back, why are
yeah.
kids no longer turning into adults? They remain children up into the 30s, still living in
Yeah.
their basement. So it seems we don't want them to grow up, and yet we do want them to grow up by the age of 8. I,
No, this is
what
it's.
the heck is going on?
I don't know. Um. The whole situation is bizarre. I mean, I get things are different in China. There's always the hey, they look younger than they are sort of thing, but no, they had girls who were way younger than their advertised age in the Chinese Olympics. That's been proven. Like, yeah, they said they were. Oh, she's 13. I'm like, no, she's 8. there's yeah, so they do stuff like that. So China, I mean, they're a little bit backwards when it comes to that sort of stuff. But a pageant where girls are going off in like fashionable lingerie type stuff, the only people that would I would the only people that would appeal to is pedophiles that we're trying to put in prison here, trying and apparently failing at, or at least failing at keeping them there.
Yeah. So
It's
I mean,
it's very very frustrating.
so I'll clarify a couple things if anybody catches this stream or happens to be viewing. This may sound prudish, what we're discussing here, but if you're an adult, go ahead and do whatever the hell you want.
Mm-hmm.
You want to go, walk down the street, gay pride parade, and wear some lingerie, fine, do your thing. Participate in the gay pride parade. Don't care. That's you. You're an adult. Make your own decisions. What we're talking about is specifically children, and why are we indoctrinating children? Like what's his name, Desmond something or another, stripping in that gay club.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's a gay club, and if that's a 21-year-old guy and he wants to strip on stage, hey, fine, more power to them. They can do what they want.
Yeah.
Party it up. But that's a kid.
Yeah. And the other thing I want to.
This is documented and has been part of psychology for decades. When you introduce children to these sexual acts, it messes them up. This is what makes them unsure of their gender. This is what raises their rate of suicide. This is what makes them feel violated, unsure of themselves. These type of early indoctrination and introduction to things they should not participate in is what corrupts them and breaks them. This is why they have relationship problems. It's why they can't find a good husband or wife or partner or whatever when they get older, because their whole concept of what a relationship is and what sex is supposed to be and what a healthy relationship is broken. It is askew. This should not be introduced to children because it destroys their future.
Yeah.
It does not help them in any way. It's not a healthy self-expression because they can't express it. They're 8, they're 9, they haven't even hit puberty.
Yeah.
They don't know what they're expressing.
And that's the thing that's the thing that irks me the most. Now, I could see, and I have actually somewhat made an argument, like, okay, she's 17 or 16.
Yeah,
it's possible. Like, there's the reason. I would argue the case that she should be treated as an adult. However, the laws of the land are the opposite of that. Where it's like, hey, she's 16. But I'm arguing so I would argue the case that after puberty, you should be treated like an adult. However, in our society, we don't treat them like adults, so they are still children. They still have the mental capacity of a children because we don't raise them to be considered an adult by the time they're 13 or 14. No, we raise them to be adults by the time they're 36. So they're infantilized. They're no real responsibility. They never grow up. They never become adults, sort of thing. In which case, yeah, being an adult is a mindset of maturity. And if somebody doesn't have that, then they're still a child. So, but I could see an argument being made, oh, she 14 to 18, is that really a child? I can see arguments being made, and I've made some myself about when somebody is an adult because they're completely aware of their actions. And actually, so this is something, people have been tried for murder at the age of 15 because they were fully aware of their actions. They were not a child. They knew what they were doing. It was not negligence. No, they went in with the intent of ending someone's life permanently, tried as an adult, convicted of murder. That's stuff we do in our society currently. But so I could see there being possibly a gray area between 14 and 18, and like, are they really an adult sort of thing? But we're talking about, no, clearly, like 8 years old, 9 years old, 11. I'm like, not even close to what you might consider a gray area. These are like the 5-year-olds at this Chinese thing. I'm like, dude, that's not even half of the way to being an adult. That's, are you kidding me? She's still got to double that and then add a couple more years on that before she even gets close to puberty. Why is she going around in lingerie? This is absolutely disturbing.
Yeah, all the kids at that drag queen read time, not even close to being puberty age.
Yeah.
They are actual just children, primary school children. That Desmond kid, I think he was like 11.
Yeah.
Maybe 12, but he'd been doing.
Well, he was 10 when he started, and then he turned 11, but it's too young. You're not in puberty yet. Not
Lactatia or something.
Yeah.
She didn't pick that name. You kidding me? Lactatia. That's disgusting.
How would he even know this name? How would he even know
Didn't pick that.
No. Like what lactation apparently is the root of the word. Who at that age knows the word lactation? That's like, is that something? And based on the mom and dad, that's not a word they use. Like,
I don't know lactation or a meme, but I read that where it said, "Cat on a vegan diet. We know who actually made the decision."
Yes. It's same thing with a drag kid or a trans kid.
Yeah.
Oh, we know who made the real decision, not the cat. Oh, my cat's vegan. My child's trans.
Well, that would be like if your kid, walks around with a little toy tool belt and has a workbench and is hammering stuff and trying to twist bolts and whatever. They saw somebody doing that. They're mimicking a parent or whatever, so you buy them a toy and they're like, oh,
yes,
I know what to do with this. And that's fine. That has nothing to do with sexuality. That's good skills. They learn, puzzle solving and what pieces going, whatever. That stuff you can tell, yeah, they had to learn that from somewhere. So maybe their dad or their mom, they around the house, they saw it, they got little toys and want to pretend they're doing the same thing as the parents. These ideas come from somewhere. So when you see kids with these ideas and you just pop out of thin air, you're not born a drag kid. You're not born with these ideas on, hey, I love makeup and I want to put on these goofy, sparkly outfits. That's something that you see. It is something that you're exposed to. So there's plenty of things that kids can be exposed to, and it does help mental development. It helps with their learning. It helps them understand and can see the world around them. Fantastic. That's what you're supposed to do as a parent. When it comes to sexual activity, you're only leading your child down a road where they cannot conceive of proper sexual relationships and where they're going to constantly be doubting who they are, who they should be with, how to find a good partner. That's why the trans community has such a high suicide rate, is because they are messed up in the head, and rather than trying to help them work through their problems and fix what was broken years ago, we pat them on the back and say, hey, good, you got your junk cut off. Good job.
Or we say, well, you're doing exactly what you're supposed to do, and they're left to their, like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm miserable. They feel they feel unnatural in their own skin. I was like, if that's what they're supposed to be doing, and you're telling them, oh, just keep doing what you're doing, they're like, but what I'm doing is making me miserable. If this is the only option I have, I'm done. I'm out. That's why there's a high suicide rate. It's like, yeah, you're telling them that's the best they can hope for in their life. They can't hope for anything better than what they currently have, and what they currently have, they consider absolute misery. If you're saying that's as good as it gets, why should they keep that going? It's
something like Superman, because obviously something was misinformed with that person. Don't look anything like a woman, and yet they can't conceive of, why is everyone calling me sir? I'm going to be pissed off all the time.
Yeah. Something
wasn't wired right there.
Well, and so there's a couple examples of that, and the very first, when the trans story started actually, because 20 years ago, did you even hear about this sort of stuff? But the first instance I remember is Ben Shapiro on one of Bill Maher's show, and
Well,
this Zoe Turner person.
There were derogatory terms like dyke was used or butch.
Yeah.
There were some women that seemed a bit masculine,
Yeah.
dressed like a guy, usually worked a job like in a mechanic shop or something, became a grease monkey. Some women still kept their femininity, others buzzed their hair off, wear tank tops all the time. So there have been women that appear masculine. That's not new. But
No,
honestly, nobody really even cared.
No, but yeah. So, but when it's talking about guys who look like, yeah, there's no mistaking you for a woman who try to pass themselves off as women, like that. That's something that is fairly recent, like in the last 2 decades or so. Because, I mean, the transvestite thing, but the transvestite thing was not like I'm gonna walk around like this and have you call me ma'am. It was something that they kind of did. Like, because RuPaul and all sort of, they did it in certain settings, and people knew this was a dude wearing women's clothing and dressing themselves up like a woman, and nobody said, "Oh, that's a woman." And they weren't demanding people call them a woman. Yeah. And then they would take off the drag and they go back and they'd have like a normal-ish life. But now we've got people who that's their entire persona, and they're expecting you to call them ma'am, and if you don't. And when Ben Shapiro says, "And what is your biology, sir?" and the guy leans over and puts his hand on Ben Shapiro's neck, and says, "You keep talking like that, and you're gonna go home in an ambulance." It's like, whoa, wait. Well, yeah, I mean that was my first. I was like, wait, this is a thing. That was my first.
Fly came in with me from work.
First instance that I could remember of somebody being trans that I knew of, or trans.
Okay,
yeah.
So
but that's kind of the introduction. Is like
when you look at society,
yeah,
right. That type of behavior was deemed as odd.
Yeah.
Not acceptable, not tolerable, just odd, right? So what was it? Silence of the Lambs with
yeah. Sorry, yeah. Bill.
Guy dancing to that creepy music and putting on the lipstick and whatnot. He wanted
Buffalo
to be,
Bill.
Yeah, Buffalo Bill, right? Yeah. That was the perception within society, and that is still how most people view it. Is something's not right?
Yeah.
It still strikes everyone as this is not normal. So how do you expect everyone to see, yes, ma'am, walking in and say, "Oh, obviously a woman with the 5 o'clock shadow."
Yeah.
And broader shoulders than me. I mean, dude's pretty built.
Well, and the other thing is, you don't call them by their appropriate gender, and they get violent, and they're like, "Oh, how dare you!" sort of, and it's like that because like the Macho Man Randy Savage. That was the other nickname, right? Macho Man.
Oh yeah.
So, but those types of individuals, it's like, how dare you call me anything other than what I prefer? It's like, if a woman walks in, like a natural biological woman walks in, and somebody says, "Excuse me, sir," do they get violent and go like, "How dare you," and threaten to beat somebody up and start smashing stuff? It's like, I've never seen that in my life. Someone who is a biological woman and somebody says, "Oh, sorry, sir," and like, it's ma'am. Oh, I'm so sorry, sort of thing, like that.
Well, I mean, I've actually had that happen to me.
Yeah, where somebody will mistake, it's like, "Ma'am, hold on 1 second."
Earlier dreams, I grew my hair out, like down to almost my rear. It was past and back. Yeah. And usually I just kept it up in a man bun, but sometimes I would just have my hair hanging down, and it was pretty straight, just went straight down. So there was a couple times someone come up from behind and say, "Oh, excuse me, ma'am," and I turn around like, "Oh, dude, I'm sorry." I expected that because I grew my hair out. I know that's not normal guy hair. I was just doing an experiment to see what happened if I grew my hair out.
Yeah, and then you're like, "Oh, how dare you call me a woman?" Start smashing things and throwing things around.
I knew I grew my hair out, and so I kind of expected that to happen every once in a while. I mean, I had a beard and everything.
Yeah,
but it's just what happens.
And even if you weren't expecting that, you're like, "Oh, well, it happens." Like,
Just
that
move on with your day. They meant
well,
no more.
that's another thing. So there was in the military, you address people sir and ma'am, especially if they're officers, sir and ma'am. Like that's actually a requirement. And then there's a lot more male officers than there are female officers, and you get in the habit of saying sir, 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 and then you go over to, like, say, the clinical area or the hospital where it's predominantly women, but you're in the habit of saying sir, and you go and talk to one, and you're like, oh, sorry, sir, and it's out of your mouth, and you can't take it back. Well, a lot of them will just kind of laugh, and it's like, yeah, that's the whatever. That's just nobody's like, oh, I have never once gotten paper like, he called me sir. I am clearly a woman. Well, mark you up. I'm gonna report to your supervisor. What's your, where do you work? What's your what's your first name? Give me your social. I'm gonna find you and put you in. You're gonna get punished for this. No, people are like, oh, yeah, whatever happens. Slip of the tongue. You apologize. Whatever, and then that's the end of it. Yep. But if that person was transgender or something like that, how dare you not use my gender? That's not normal behavior from it. But that's behavior we've seen time and time again from people who are transgender, and it's like only that group of people behaves in this way when someone makes an accident or a slip of the tongue sort of thing, or hey, this is an abnormal situation. You should be aware that this is not normal for everybody. Not everybody's used to speaking in this manner. It may be normal in your world, but it's not for them. You should be a little but no leniency. How you're doing this just to insult me, and this is an attack against my person. It's because you hate me and you want me to die. What?
Yeah, you bigot.
So yeah, that's ridiculous stuff, and I do want to clarify something that's like, yeah, and people are going to take things out of context because people are stupid, but what I say, there should be a definite distinction between children and adults, and right now in the USA, that distinction is 18.
Yep.
Not 17 and 354 days or 55 days. Wait, 300. No, 18.
Well, it also depends on the state. Like some states, 17 they can get married if they got.
Okay, yeah, married, but still at the federal any kind of.
Federal, you're not legally an adult until 18. That's just.
Yeah. So if you are engaged in some kind of sexual act with somebody and you're 18 and they're 17. There's a possibility of you going to jail based on the federal law. That's just,
so just
whatever. But yeah, there has to be a distinction between when someone is an adult and when someone is a child. And right now that's 18, and so anything under that, not only are you breaking the law, but yes, you are a pedophile if you're having sexual actions with anybody under the age of 18 and you're over the age of 18. Gets pretty murky when you're talking about, he's 18 or he's 17 and he's dating a 16-year-old and then he turns 18. Yeah, so there's
common sense because if they're high school sweethearts, right? She was 16, he was 17, started dating. He becomes a senior, she's a junior. Now all of a sudden it's illegal the day of his birthday.
Yeah, that's
have some consideration there, and I think the judge would say, I get it.
Yeah.
You get.
And there are some laws that acknowledge that, but there is a cutoff between a child and an adult.
Correct. You shouldn't have a 30-year-old dating a 16-year-old.
Yeah. That's just... And all of this sexual activity for somebody who is a child, and it's not just the fact that these things occur, it's the fact that these things are encouraged. They're encouraging child drag queens. Like I said, this was on Good Morning America, and they were plotting, this is so... the Chinese thing, they're like, oh, hey, 5-year-olds doing, dressing up in lingerie as if they're Victoria Angels. That's absolute insanity. But they think, oh, hey, this is something good, yay, we'll get so much applaud, and then these drag queens as well, like the parents are like, oh, that's so amazing, and I'm like, no, this is stuff that should not be around children. At all. I would say anybody from the ages up to 18, because we've designated 18 as the age of adulthood. this is stuff that should not be around kids until they're older than 18. Like, hey, maybe they're aware of it, but it's not something we should be actively say, hey, participate in this. Participate in these drag queen story times. You're 16. No. It, like, if they, like, yeah, it's the, hey, save that stuff for when you're an adult, when you can make, when we give you the responsibility to be held accountable to your actions, then, okay. But prior to being accountable for your actions, no, we're not having any of that around kids. Yeah. But yeah, the when that age of accountability is and all that sort of thing, the arbitrary age of 18 makes absolutely no sense to me, but that's the way it is. So either be consistent or no. I mean, it's like the lack of consistency and lack of coherency and all that is very, very frustrating. Anyway, okay, last thing I wanted to play. Oh, there's another thing after this, but maybe I won't get to it. Come on, let me cast. Nope. It's not showing up with the hangout. It's so sad.
No, punk ass bitches from the right call me.
Yeah. I don't know what the deal is. Maybe it's just not recognized. I don't know if that's a Google thing or not, because like the OBS will do that as well. It won't recognize the Google Hangouts as going with the window capture stuff. So sometimes it will, it'll show me the list of available instances, and Google Hangouts won't be one of them. But maybe it's something. All right. So I'm just gonna link the video. I don't know how much of this I'm gonna play, but. Man. Well, at least we got through most of the stuff that I was able to share in the Hangout. Much easier to do that than what I'm doing right now, but I'm going to switch over the video to... So this is a video that's been going around, and this just happened, I think, yesterday. Or it might have been today.
No, punk ass bitches from the right call me Fredo. My name is Cuomo. I'm an anchor on CNN. It's like the N-word for us.
Okay, so I'm going to pause it right there. So, he just said the word Fredo is like the N-word for us. Now, people have been talking about that being an Italian slur, and then they're like, but I don't know any Italians who have been insulted like that. But after rewatching this, I'm like, wait, he just said that he was an anchor for CNN, and they consider Fredo like the N-word. Is he talking about they as in CNN? Like CNN considers this the N-word?
I think he is referring to Italians, but that's not an Italian thing.
No.
That's from The Godfather. That's just the movie.
But it's
not an Italian family, and Fredo was a guy's name.
Yeah, and he was the guy who was a turncoat.
Fredo, implying that means you're Italian. They're saying Fredo as in the incompetent younger brother who they couldn't trust to do anything right.
Yeah.
So it could have been an Irish movie. Could have been a Scottish movie. Could have been a Japanese or Chinese movie, and call him Kato.
I was about to say, well, but wasn't Fredo one of the guys who... He didn't make it through the end, right?
I don't think so. I don't remember. It's been a while since
I'm pretty sure he got whacked by...
But basically, Fredo just means you are the incompetent one who can't be trusted to finish your task or do what you were told to do. You're too incompetent to get it done.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with being Italian, so therefore it is nothing like the N-word.
Well, here's the funny thing. Regardless of whether Italians or CNN view Fredo as the N-word, there's more to this video, like a full minute of it. Yeah, so this is from Carpe Donktum. He is awesome.
I'm sorry, this is what he is. Up next, just like Fredo Corleone in The Godfather, Trump wants us to know he's smart. He's smart, Michael. I'm a smart one. That's ahead. You're watching Hardball.
Donald Trump and the bottom line. His sons, Eric and Fredo, said, that they got all of their money, or most of their money, the majority of their money. I think it was Fredo who said they get the majority of their money.
You mean Don Jr.
Okay, Don Jr. Same.
Don Jr. and Eric, two Fredos.
It was about Don Jr. It was about Fredo.
Some people compare him not very nicely to Fredo.
I mean, yeah. So this goes on for a full another minute. I'm not going to play the full thing, but it's all CNN clips, all of them referring to Don Jr. as Fredo, and where is that one at the end? I think I skipped over it.
The Fredo analogy, Daddy kept
Yeah, right
Fredo
here.
back home. So who cares what Donald Trump Jr. says? Who cares what Donald Trump Jr. says?
So, and in that clip where he's just kind of sitting there blank stare while she just used that term, that's Chris Cuomo. If it is the equivalent of the N-word, you say, oh, whoa, we don't say that here on this network. Like, where's the...
Yeah, it was right there.
Yeah, he was right there and just kind of... I mean, I don't know if that was the expression as, like, I can't believe she just said that sort of thing, or... Because it looked like his facial expression didn't change at all from when she started talking and when she said the word and then after.
No, all this is he made a dumb comment because he was heated that this guy approached him.
Yeah.
And CNN has to back him up.
Oh. And, so as a result of this, he threatened to throw the guy down some stairs. Yeah, he got pretty violent. So, I mean, he didn't actually injure anybody, but this guy was making threats and that sort of thing. So the odd-ish part about this, so then Trump tweets that this guy seems unhinged, this Chris Cuomo guy. This is the type of guy who would trigger the red flags. This guy shouldn't have firearms. And then we had people, conservative guys, go, oh, he just undermined his own red flag argument and all this sort of thing. But now we have liberals defending the Second Amendment on behalf of Chris Cuomo. What? Like, I don't know if Trump did this on purpose or not, but it's like, you guys are the guys who were just days ago trying to take away all firearms by your own admission, and now you're like, oh, well, we can't take away firearms from leftists. What? No, Second Amendment, that is the right to bear arms, even for people like Chris Cuomo. It is amazing.
I think that's how Trump's strategy is. Just kind of poke the bear, see what happens.
And it works. It's working out for him because I don't know if he actually supports the red flag laws or anything like that.
I'm hoping not.
But now he's got them, just like now he's got them, because there was a while where the Democrats were kind of like, oh, no, ignore the four. We don't want those to be the representation of us. We want to present ourselves as being stable and good leaders and stuff like that. So distance ourselves from the four and. Maybe don't tweet so much because you guys are exposing kind of things we don't want you to expose. And then he got them to flip and be like, okay, now we got to support the four and we got to put them as the front. And then, oh, we have to be against guns. Wait, we don't have to get rid of all guns. Oh, Trump's against this now. All right, we gotta defend gun rights. So everything they try to do to make themselves, I guess, more appealing to their. Or they're trying to push Agenda A, and he always gets them to flip, and I'm like, okay, now you're against Agenda A.
But I did listen to Ben Shapiro's stream earlier, and he made a funny joke about Trump. He's like, so yeah, we have this whole Chris Cuomo thing, and just like any discussion that ever pops on national news, Trump busts in like the Kool-Aid man. Put his 2 cents in.
But I mean, it had an effect that's actually beneficial to conservatives and Republicans and people on the right. We're like, dude, the left is finally defending gun rights.
I think the only effect is it's just exposing the left for their ideology, because it has gone on. It has now become lunacy, not a mainstream or normal ideology. And the only ideology they seem to have is let's find things to be aggravated about. And that is the opposite of what Trump supports. That's their only ideology. It is not the benefit of the country. It is not to help their constituents. It's not anything. It's just what can we be outraged about that is the opposite of what Trump supports. So I think all he's doing is just poking at him and saying, this is stupid. You guys are being stupid. Keep it up. So, not 4D just, but he just likes to antagonize them because they're so easy to pick on. I don't know.
Okay, so I don't know if this is. I'm sure this might be from somewhere else on Twitter. I didn't have this queued up before the stream started. But the last story, well, unless you had something else to chime in or add, last thing I want to talk about, and this is kind of, hey, this is actually pretty uplifting and really amazing. But was there anything, because that's going to be the last thing I do before closing out. Is there nothing else? Okay. So, I'll send you this link. I mean, this was just the first one that came up when I Googled this just now, but this was something that was going around today. So let me get this queued up. Sorry, this was not prepped. And why is that showing the wrong screen? There it goes. Alright. Come on. Okay, so protesters in Hong Kong were waving the American flag and singing the American national anthem. And so if you're not aware, Hong Kong has been protesting against China.
And bright stars through the perilous fight, all the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in there.
I'm not going to play the full thing, but so I played about 20 seconds of it. But they are protesting the oppression of China against them because Hong Kong is very capitalist and very socially liberal. But China is, I mean, granted, they have become more capitalistic in general, but they are very socially restrictive. And Hong Kong has, this has been an issue where they've fought for their freedom before. They've tried to separate from China, and they always, because China's bigger and stronger, continually, just kind of keeps them under their thumb. And this is another example where the people have gotten fed up, and they're like, yeah, we want out. We don't want to be a part of China anymore. We want our freedom. And the symbols they're using are the symbols of the U.S., and that is pretty amazing. Now, we've got people in the U.S. saying that flag represents racism and hate and bigotry, and these guys see it and they're like, no, that represents what we want for ourselves. That represents freedom. That represents the right to do what we want to do with our lives, regardless of what the Chinese government says. And that's, and they're protesting saying, yeah, this is what we want.
Yeah.
Man.
Well, I mean, Hong Kong is a Western culture. They were under British rule up until, what, 90 something? 90, I don't remember when that was, when they had to give it back. But they were based off of Western values.
Yeah.
And then they lost it. China is trying to push their rule over them, and yeah, they see the American flag as simply that. It represents liberty. That's what it means to any red-blooded American.
And it almost makes me wonder, like, should America consider, hey, Hong Kong, you're now in the same category as Puerto Rico and Guam.
I'm pretty sure
probably not. That'd probably be World War III, but man, that would be, because it's one of those situations where the U.S. can't quite step in and say, hey, we got your back. China, just leave them alone. But that's asking for a war.
Yeah, but it almost seems that would be the virtuous thing to do.
Yeah.
Asking for freedom, and we're here to try and help get freedom for those who we can.
Well, I would say that would be what we should be doing. Hey, this is what I mean, not likely to happen, but what I would Like, if I could wave a magic wand and have something happen, that would be, we've got acres and acres of unused land in the United States. Create a section off federal land, however many acres, invite people from South Africa and invite people from Hong Kong and be like, hey, we're going to set up a little area for you guys. If you guys can make it to the U.S., you're going to be in here. It'll be treated similar to an Indian reservation. It's like, hey, you leave that land, you know, you're not protected or whatever, but hey, on this little area, if you stay there, you can develop a community, you can build your own stuff. It'll be your land.
See,
that's not likely to happen, but...
Nah, I think you're mixing stuff up. Because why wouldn't we do that for people south of the border then?
Hmm?
Right, we've got an immigration crisis at our southern border. Wouldn't that be along the same lines? Why don't we just open that up and give them a space of land, take a chunk of Texas and say, here you go, Mexico. Here you go, Honduras.
Well, because the people there aren't being oppressed for their views. They're leaving in order to get a better life and more money and things along those lines. The people in Hong Kong are being attacked by their government. That is a situation where, and same thing with South Africa. Those people are being killed and murdered because of their
land. They should be able to flee and claim asylum.
Yes.
And that would be more along the lines of an actual asylum seeker versus just someone saying, well, I'm broke down here.
And I would say, so this would be an asylum claim, and they should section off an area of land and be like, hey, this is for you guys, this is for your asylum seekers. I think that would kind of alleviate some of the issue with the border, but the people on the border that are crossing from Mexico, a lot of the times it's not because they are either religiously persecuted or persecuted because of their skin color or because of their views. It's just because they live in Mexico, and Mexico is terrible for everybody who lives there, so...
So maybe like a proposed intermediate zone?
Yeah.
That's only for asylum claims? You live in this section for a while, you claim asylum. If things get better in your country, you have the right to go back. You're not a national citizen. But if you want to stay, then you become nationalized through the normal route.
Yeah.
So we've got normal immigration, and then we've got asylum seeker immigration from the sectioned off land.
Technically, that's what kind of what Ellis Island used to be. It's like, hey, this is kind of an intermediate zone. It's still U.S. territory, but it's kind of like you're in between. Although there's no way that Ellis Island would be big enough. So I mean, they'd have to have a larger area for that. But we need something along those lines. Be like, yeah, instead of using these holding cells and all. Well, I mean, we still need these detention centers because there's people who are crossing. Like, do you have a legitimate claim for asylum? No, I just want free stuff. Because people would people are abusing the asylum system, but setting off an area of land and being like, yeah, these are for legitimate asylum seekers, and it's temporary. They don't get all the rights of a U.S. citizen. They don't get all the benefits. They have to stay in this one area, and when things get better in their home country, they got to go back. But
you set up a homeless shelter. It's for homeless people.
Yeah.
Just because you live in a crummy apartment, and the homeless shelter might have better amenities, a nice bathroom, free food and stuff like that, that doesn't give you the right to come and walk in and say, hey, mind if I stay here? Just because you got a crummy apartment, or because, you don't want to pay your utilities, so you walk next door and go use their water and shower and stuff. That doesn't work. It's meant for people who have no home and no way out.
Yeah. And
that would be the same as an asylum seeker. These are people who are being forced against their will to comply with whatever government, to comply with, a dictatorship or a despot or whatever. So, I mean, ultimately, it would be nice if we could help everyone south of the border and increase their wealth, increase their economy, and through good business trades and stuff like that. That can happen. But we can't take everybody in Mexico and everybody in Honduras and Guatemala who feel they want to make a little more money and just walk on in. That doesn't work anyway.
It doesn't. And, well, the other thing is the population that we'd be helping out in South Africa and Hong Kong, and also the Christian refugees from, I think it was Sudan and Iran. Might have been... So I think that's where the majority of them were coming from. But in those instances, you're talking about a known limited population size. Whereas the people coming from the southern border, that could be everybody from South America coming up. But we were like, okay, this specific group, couple million. This specific group, couple million. That's it. We know the size of the group. We know the most that would come in based on these criteria. But if you're talking about like all of Mexico, all of South America, all coming up into the United States, no, we can't do that.
Yeah, but I also can see. I don't think a lot of people from Hong Kong want to relocate.
Yeah, they probably don't. But
like Hong Kong, that's their home.
Yeah,
they just want to be free.
But based on what China has been doing, that's not likely. Even though these guys are out there protesting and they're using the U.S. flag, and that is uplifting, and I kind of want to end on that note. But there is a downside. Like, China's not going to let that fly. China's going to...
No, I don't know. They don't even... They censor Google and the internet, and...
Yeah.
They're not going to let say, hey, well, okay, you one section, you can do what they want.
Yeah,
because that's going to destroy everything that they've tried to control for...
Yeah. China has been cracking down on the protesters rather violently, so it's unfortunate. But that's all I had for today, and wow, still almost made 2 hours.
Well, I mean, it was kind of some bigger. The Epstein thing was a bigger story.
Yeah. All right, but if that's all you wanted, all we had to cover, I will see you guys next Tuesday. And thanks for anybody who did watch the stream or is going to. All right, bye.